Let's start with Georgia at Ole Miss, 3:30 Eastern on ABC. Still feels weird to say, not CBS. Georgia at around a 2.5-ish point favorite. I personally like Ole Miss here. I took the three. I do need three. I mean, but here's the thing: like it's very bizarre NFL season in that like the college football is becoming the NFL at the top, like with the top 30 and the top teams. That's why I think you're seeing like the parity, and it's not there's like no parity in the NFL this year, and that's why I think you're seeing underdogs do so well in these high profile SEC games. I think they're 29 and 13 underdogs against the spread in SEC games. Not the biggest sample size, but I do think that there's the market in this particular game is implying that Georgia is what 6-ish points better than Ole Miss on a neutral field. I don't see that. And if you just look at data this year, Ole Miss has been the better team. Now, there's a couple things that I do worry about here with Ole Miss. One, it's the coaching mismatch.
Yep.
Lane Kiffin in a big game versus Kirby Smart in a big game. I mean, Kirby Smart has been automatic against the spread against ranked teams. He's 29 and 15 against the spread. He's 66%. The injury report is obviously something worth noting for Ole Miss. They have 27 players on it. I think Lane Kiffin is just playing games. I mean, but he has Trey Harris and Watkins, two of their best receivers, listed as doubtful. I assume he's just playing games they're going to play. I mean, this is their season, but I have to mention that.
Yeah.
And then does the Georgia defensive line just completely overwhelm the Ole Miss offensive line? That's the weak link. Does that occur just like it did in Austin against a Texas offensive line that's better than the Ole Miss offensive line? Those are my concerns, but I had to take a field goal here because, I mean, right now, Georgia's rushing attack, pretty underwhelming, and their passing attack is pretty lost, mainly because Carson Beck's just not seeing the field. Their wide receiver room, for various reasons, is not as talented as it's been in years past. But excuse me, Carson Beck, he has more turnover-worthy plays than big-time throws. 4 turnover-worthy plays, no big-time throws the past 2 games. Last year, at this same exact point in the season, he had two times as many big-time throws. And he's really struggling under pressure. 36% completion percentage with 7 turnover-worthy throws under pressure. Well, he's certainly going to see pressure against Ole Miss. This is the best unit on the entire field, and the most reliable unit might be the Ole Miss defense, which is shocking to say. They have 6 defenders with at least 20 pressures, number 1 in havoc. They're going to get to Beck here and force him to throw under pressure. Every week you can just count on him to make a couple bad throws that result in turnovers. I just can't trust him at the moment. And this Georgia offense, like they've had just a couple spurts where they've looked great. Other than that, it's been pretty underwhelming. And I do think that this Georgia secondary is attackable. So I think you have to take the 3 here, even against Smart in a big game, even with the injury concerns for Ole Miss. I mean, Ole Miss has been the better statistical team this season. They're the more desperate team. If Georgia loses this game, still get the 2 losses and make the college football playoff, they would have to take care of business against Tennessee, Georgia Tech. Ole Miss, this is their season on the line. I think you got to take the field goal here.
Yeah. This has been a really tough game for me. So I watched every single second of Arkansas Ole Miss, and I knew that I wanted Ole Miss badly in this game against Georgia. And the biggest reason was I know what Georgia's going through on offense, and I know what Ole Miss is capable of on defense. It's a really good scenario for Ole Miss. But as I watched that Arkansas Ole Miss game, it was player after player after player on the ground. And this wasn't Lane trying to stop shit. I mean, they had, I don't know, they won by like what, 80 points? It wasn't like Lane was trying to pull his old fake injury crap. Like people were really getting taken out of the game. Running back was depleted. Henry Parrish got taken out of the game and with real injuries. I just, so I paused myself on Sunday. There was a +3.5 out there. I wanted it. I wanted to just hit it until I was limited and, we're going to call the man, whatever. I wanted to hit Ole Miss really bad. but I couldn't get over the fact that I saw so many players fall down for Ole Miss with real injuries. And so I held until the availability report came out on Wednesday night. And I wanted to see what kind of junk was going to be in this thing. Trey Harris doubtful. Of course he's doubtful, right? He's doubtful every week. He hasn't played in a couple of weeks. But that didn't matter last week because Jordan Watkins had 5 receiving touchdowns. Huge. And the big reason of that is because they were talking about the running backs that have protected Jackson Dart, and Jackson Dart has time to find a new wide receiver because Trey Harris was like 40% of the offense. He found Jordan Watkins. Well, guess what? Jordan Watkins, to everybody's surprise, is listed as doubtful on this availability report. Had 5 touchdowns against Arkansas. What the hell is going on here? This is a joke. This availability report is a joke. But there's another name that kept me off this. Not Henry Parrish being out. Not the running back Henry Parrish being out. Center Reese McIntyre is questionable for this game. How big of a player is he? He's in his 6th year. He's taken 615 snaps at center. And his backup sophomore, Bryson Sanders, has only done a couple snaps, I think 50 in his career. Nobody else can play center, and they're going to use the backup to play center if Reese McIntyre can't play. He's listed as questionable. Tell me how the hell Jordan Watkins is scoring 5 touchdowns. He's listed as doubtful, and Reese McIntyre is listed as questionable, and nobody saw this coming. So as badly as I wanted to play the 3.5, as badly as I want the 3 right now, I'm just strapped to this availability report till what, 90 minutes before kickoff? We're going to say like 1 o'clock Central. I got to start finding out if players are dressed and on the field, because if those guys were healthy, and I don't even need Trey Harris for this, like if it's just Jordan Watkins and Reese McIntyre at center, I'm playing Ole Miss. So, and you're right. I mean, you switch to the other side of the ball. Carson Beck, he's been horrific. 8 interceptions in the past 3 games, and you nailed it, stuck exactly where his issues are. It is when he drops back and there's pressure. Now, I know that you talked about the raw numbers of turnover-worthy plays. I think it's important to talk about his rate of turnover-worthy plays. Clean pocket, 2.7% turnover-worthy play rate. Pressure pocket, 10.3% of creating a turnover-worthy play. He has been horrific. There is a segment that Johnny and I did for Johnny's Intangibles on Monday, and it was about the film review was the fact that he saw a 3-man pressure front, a delayed blitz, 4 guys total, and he completely whiffed and just threw an interception right over the middle of the field. Like he is so lost out there right now. His visibility is 0. Ole Miss leads the country in tackles for loss by a large gap, Stuck. It's like by 20. Like they have 100, and like the next best team's like 77. So I don't know, like this Georgia offensive line, it's progressively getting worse in protection of Beck and creating holes for the running game. Now, Etienne is going to go here. He's not on this availability report from the Georgia side, but does that help? I mean, you're going to have to be able to throw the ball here. Ole Miss,
you can't run on Ole Miss.
No. And
Top
Ole Miss
5
is
every rushing metric.
They're 5th in pass rush. They lead the country in tackles for loss. They're really great. They have beaten every RPO quarterback that they've seen, so don't think you can get the running game going here. And Golding's nickel defense, they're 25th in opponent pass explosives. So I wrote this up for action. Everybody that goes and reads it, I say at the end, I desperately want Ole Miss, but I've got to have their center playing. I've got to have Jordan Watkins. If you want to keep Trey Harris, that's fine. Keep him out of this game, that's fine. But my ultimate bet that went in is Georgia under 27.5 points from a team total perspective. I think that offense is broken. I think Ole Miss's defense is legit, and I think what's going on with Beck is not going to go away in this game. I'm going to join you on Ole Miss, but sadly, we're going to have to wait for the Friday availability report. I'm going to have to wait till 90 minutes before kick. I don't know if I can take Ole Miss missing a center and another wide receiver and Henry Parrish out at running back.
Yeah, obviously things have changed if these guys are all out, but I genuinely believe that Lane is trolling.
Yeah.
Sankey, the SEC commissioner, came out and said he'd punish coaches for the injury faking, which is a direct shot at Ole Miss. Well, you know what I think Lane is doing? Faking fake injuries off the field. But we'll see. There's definitely some uncertainty. But when you see 27 guys, yeah, have to kind of take it with a grain of salt. All right, so no on the agree tab because you need the injuries.
Yeah.